Outside of just the educational piece, what we want for LJ is that he feels a sense of community. He feels connection, that he's enjoying it. Like Lee was saying on the episode, that he's excited to learn. So to me, that's more important than him being able to read the short words. I predict that he'll be able to do it, and hopefully we can get him to do that. But that's not a huge deal. The bigger deal is that he feels safe and comfortable there and happy, and that he's excited to learn. That's the bigger piece.
Sounds like he's on his way or there already.
Sounds like Everett is too.
We're being very proactive. We're not just like, let's see how he does. We're like, no, let's get all the support system in place and then like set him up for success. And his teachers are on board, which is so, so helpful. And I do think the communication, like us actually starting the communication and being like, how can we help? What do you need us to do at home? What information do you need from us? Hi, I'm Peavy.
Hi, I'm Jamie, and welcome to Blank is a Mother podcast. We've been best friends since college, and we're using a comparative lens to share how we're coming into our power after 40.
We aren't supposed to compare, right? Well, we all know that's not realistic.
We started this podcast when our boys were toddlers. They are growing fast, and we've been growing too.
The first few years of motherhood shook our lives and friendship like no other experience has. And by comparing and contrasting our evolution up to that point in our lives and beyond, we have discovered the strongest threads of sisterhood yet.
Listen, we don't have all the answers. We sure have made some missteps.
Follow along as we do our best to nurture our friendship and build an inclusive community while making 1,000 tiny mama decisions in an unfair world. Hi, I'm Peavy.
Hi, I'm Jamie, and welcome to Blank is a Mother podcast.
It's been a minute since we recorded, for good reason. We can chat about what we've been up to. But today we wanted to jump on and just kind of do some reflections on, the start of school, since we had our kindergarten readiness episode with Lee Fitz, who's deep into her own classroom management, probably at this point, a month into her school year too. So yeah, we thought it would be fun to do that. Just kind of see, this is what we prepared for. And now that we're a few weeks in, what worked, what didn't work. And then we got a few other things that we can rap about in ways of catch up, because we do have a lot of really great episodes coming up that we're recording, and we're super excited about what the next couple months entail. But ahead of that, we just wanted to do a little bit of mellow catch up. You'll have to bear with our girl Jamie. She's got a little bit of a cold, hence the start of the school year.
Sorry, I'm trying to come off mute because I'm not going to subject you all to me coughing. I will tell you that by the end of this episode, I'm more likely than not going to sound like Barry White. So my voice is going to keep getting deeper and deeper. But yes, what I'm experiencing in my chest, in my nose, in my throat is what happens for back to school, right? The kids are out, they're touching everything, and then they want to touch you. So, of course, LJ feels fine. He started with the cough, and now he's perfectly fine. Meanwhile, John and I are like, because John has the same stuff going on. And it's been weeks. I thought it would have gotten better, but the congestion just started creeping up this week. That's going to be the whole year with all the germs. So we just got to get ready for it. So Peep, so what's been going on with Everett? Do you want to talk a little bit about his new school and how things are going so far? What's the report?
Yeah. We did a last minute bait and switch on Everett because we were going to go to our local school. And then only a few days before school started, we got into our dual language immersion program, which is a charter school in our district. So we did a lot of prep for our local school, and then we ended up doing a little bit of a left turn. So we felt a little uneasy about that, just that we didn't get to do all the prep that we would have wanted to do, knowing we were going into a Spanish speaking school. So that was a little rough. And our summer was kind of rough, just in terms of balancing behavior and the summer camps, and especially at the tail end of summer. So we were a little nervous going into the school year because of those two elements. We were already a little chaotic, and then switching into a new school last minute. But we relied heavily on the conversation we had with Lee and all of the tips that she had given us. So, we still stuck with the program, We labeled everything. We did as much prep as we could. Didn't get to do any like practice runs like we would have liked to. But, I think because, like we talked about in that episode, this is not new to him going to school in whatever environment and even changing like these transitions that we've done before. So, he was cool on day one, and he wanted to stay consistent. So I offered to take him to school the first day with Brett, because normally our routine is that Brett drops him off and I pick him up. And he's like, "No, mommy, I want daddy takes me to school. So daddy's going to take me to school." And I was like, "Okay. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. You want to stick with the programs, have some sort of consistency." So we got him all ready, because now he has to wear a uniform at the charter school. So that actually makes it a lot easier. That's one thing that we hadn't really anticipated or planned for, and we're still adjusting to the earlier schedule. Like, we have to be out of the house at 7:30, 7:40, the latest, which is a bit of a change for us.
Mm-hmm.
So luckily they have free breakfast at school, and he can eat at his desk in the first few minutes. But anyway, yeah, so they drove out of the driveway that first day, and Everett started crying when he left the driveway because his nerves were kicking in. And then once they left the driveway, I just had like this big emotional release and just cried on my coffee. And because I was just so high strung and kind of like irritable, I guess, leading up to it, because I just was like, we got to do this, this, and this, and this, and everything's got to be ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
And once he was out the door, I was like, it's all out of my hands now. I just got to let it loose. So yeah, had a little emotional release, which felt good. And he did great. We wrote his teacher a letter, just introducing him and his strengths and challenges and his likes. And it was easy to write. It was harder to like hand it to the teacher. It felt so formal and felt so, I don't know, very deliberate, almost thinking, I wish we could just sit down and have this conversation and just tell you this stuff rather than giving you this letter. And I could see it on her face too, like, oh, like she probably doesn't get too many of those, because she was like, oh, a letter. Okay. This was at back to school night. So it was like the second week of school. And I just said, we just didn't know if we were going to have a lot of time with you, because all the parents are here. So we just wanted to make sure we did give you this information and this introduction. But I'm so glad we did, because it's been so useful. Like, she really did read it, and it was helpful to her. And since then, it just really opened the lines of communication and showed her how much we wanted to all work together and be on the same team. So since then, we've had a meeting with her and the school psychologist and just chatted about, that Everett's still doing his assessment. And yeah, it really does just feel like we're all on the same team. And not that there aren't some bumps in the road, but nothing that wasn't predictable.
Yeah.
Of course, you let your mind go to the worst case scenario, but
of course,
with being all 90% in Spanish, I could have seen it being much harder. They say the first 6 months are just like tears and resistance to going because they don't understand. And luckily we don't have either of those things. I mean, he has said like, I don't want to go to school, but I honestly think it doesn't matter where he was going. He'd be like, I'd rather be at home rocking out. I think all things considered, we're doing well, and I am grateful that we did prepare so much. Made it feel more manageable, less surprises. I mean, there's still new things that we're learning, but yeah, all in all, pretty good.
I did not realize until just now. I knew it was a Spanish immersion program, but I didn't realize that 90% of the curriculum is in Spanish. That's amazing.
He understands almost nothing.
Now.
Luckily, they have like his main teacher, and then they have a full-time aide. So there's 2 adults, which I think is pretty rare in the classroom. So if there's anything he really doesn't understand, one of them can translate. And it's supposed to be a third in terms of the makeup of the classroom, like a third Spanish speaker, a third English speakers, third bilingual kids. I think it's like half and half. Well, I should say, I think it's half English speakers.
Okay.
And then maybe like a quarter Spanish speakers, a quarter bilingual kids. So he's definitely not alone. And like, I think that's helpful for him when he's had some frustration come up and some behavioral issues because he can't understand. The teachers and us at home are reminding him like, No one expects you to know what's going on. No one expects you to understand. You're not like behind. There's 50% of the kids in your class that you're all in the same situation. So don't stress. Don't worry about it. Just say you don't understand. And that'll obviously sort itself out, because they say like around January, because their brains are developing so quickly still at their age, they're just little sponges. Even if he's not really like in the lessons, that it's just osmosis. And by January, they just start understanding a ton and then slowly start speaking it too. So by first grade, second grade, they're like, la, 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 la.
That's amazing. And he'll be there all the way through 5th grade.
Sixth grade.
6th grade. Okay.
By 6th grade, it's 50-50. So the goal is like at 6th grade, everyone's bilingual.
I love that. Maybe I need to send his little cousin LJ there and get him immersed.
You guys might have some.
We probably do. I mean, we're in South Florida, so I imagine that we do. He knows some words, but he's certainly not on the track to being bilingual yet. So I love that. That's awesome, Pete. And I'm glad that he is thriving, which gives you some comfort. You and Brett some comfort.
Yeah. I mean, we're being very proactive. We're not just like, let's see how he does. We're like, no, let's get all the support system in place and then set him up for success. So yeah. And his teachers are on board, which is so, so helpful. And I do think the communication, like us actually starting the communication and being like, how can we help? What do you need us to do at home? What information do you need from us?
Well, it's a similar report card over here. LJ is thriving at his new school. So if you all remember, he was at a private Catholic Montessori school for 2 years. And this year he started a public Montessori magnet school. So we had to do the lottery and all that stuff. And he got into this school and he'll be there through 5th grade. So going into 6th grade, he'll finish elementary school there. And he comes home every day and he's like, I had a great day. It was outstanding. Like he's skipping out. And LJ has long days, like you were describing, ever getting out of the house early. LJ's is even a bit earlier than that because we have a 30-minute commute one way because we're not zoned. So you go. So the whole house is up at 6.
Wow.
Similar to Brett, John is on drop off. I'm on pickup. So John and LJ are out of the house at 7. So getting up that early is different for Munchkin, but he's doing well. And I'm happy to report, I don't think you and I have talked about this, he's been sleeping in his bed all night.
Oh, nice.
He's back to that now.
Was that when you went out of town?
I went out of town, y'all, to St. Kitts and had a girls' trip with one of our besties from Longwood. And then the next week, I turned around and went to South Carolina for a client meeting. So I was gone. And I think what else happened that helped is that LJ, y'all's nephew, is obsessed with the galaxy and the Milky Way and planets and the solar system. And we put up on his ceiling all of the planets, like the solar system. And John made the Big Dipper and the Little Dipper out of the little glow-in-the-dark stars. Girl, he made a true galaxy on LJ's ceiling. And LJ is like, this is wonderful. So like he likes to sleep. He's like, he's sleeping under his planets. So I think that helps. So he's getting a full night's sleep, and we are adamant that he's in the bed by 8:30 because he gets up so early. So his sleep routine is great. He's getting up. Just like Everett, he gets free breakfast and free lunch. So we've been experimenting with us packing his lunch versus him eating the cafeteria lunch. So we're still trying to figure out what feels good there, because we pack his lunch, he eats half of it. He gets the cafeteria lunch. He may eat a couple bites. So we're just trying to figure out the routine. But I will tell you this. We can see and feel a difference of the culture of the school, the culture of the community, just the way that LJ feels. He is his teacher and then his teacher's assistant. And the teacher's assistant is also who runs aftercare. So he has a constant person there with him. And he loves both of his teachers. And they're time enough for him because LJ will try you. Do you want to put your stuff away? No, thank you. One of his teachers, a teacher's assistant, said that LJ, when it's time to pack his mat up for his nap or quiet time, he's like, can you help me? And she's like, well, you can do it. He's like, yeah, but it's faster with both of us. So he's already trying it, but they're time enough for him. And it's been really good. Now he is struggling a little bit with certain things that require him to have full independence, because we recognize that there are certain things that we still just do for him that we don't think about. Struggling is a stretch, but they are allowing him to struggle a bit, to say like, no, you need to do this. You are a big boy. Opening up little bags of chips. We just open them and give it to him. They're like, no, you need to open up your own chips. Every kid gets the same snack before lunch. Everybody gets the same snack at dismissal. So you need to learn how to do those things. So it's been great for us too to say we need to just keep giving him all of the independence, because it's great that you know all of your planets. It's great that you can add, multiply, all those things. But those little independent pieces of the puzzle, we're working with him on, and they're working with him on that too. So we recognize we need to let him do more. We don't need to do everything for him. So that's been a learning curve.
He's right on track though,
Oh, for sure.
This is the year that he needs to be doing that. And everybody's enabling him to learn those skills.
Absolutely. The teacher's aide, Miss Morgan, is like, I let him struggle. He's going to figure it out. They're great. We've been sending emails back and forth with his teacher, Miss O, who's adorable. We missed curriculum night because somehow that wasn't on our calendar. We need calendar management. That was this week. But we're meeting with her next week just to kind of learn more about what LJ is doing in his classroom. How is he doing? There's no doubt in our minds that we made the right decision by putting him over in this new program. Even for us as parents, we just feel so much more comfortable over there.
That must feel so good.
It feels most like the way that I grew up. I mean, I'm biased. I went to public school, elementary through high school, but it just has a different vibe. And so he's living his life. He's doing really well. And John and I are doing well. I told you I joined the PTO. They don't call it the PTA anymore. So I guess the PTO, Parent Teachers Organization, I joined that. So I got to just dig back in there and jump into those meetings. But he's great. There's this thing here called Kid Strong. It's kind of like, what is it? The Ninja Warriors, but for kids.
Okay, cool.
And because LJ likes to jump on stuff, we're thinking that'll be great for him too. So we're trying to switch up some of his after school and weekend hobbies too. Y'all's nephew is doing wonderfully. And it's allowing John and I to recognize some of the things that we can do differently as well, just to keep him thriving.
So you mentioned sleep, which is so important because they're having new stimulants with learning new things in a new environment, new caretakers, new peers, all that, right? New language for that matter. And you mentioned sleep, and we've been really diligent about that too. We actually do bedtime at 7:30 because he takes a long time to go to sleep. Oh my gosh. The other night he was laying down. He's like, Mommy, you just go right to sleep. How come it takes me so long to go to sleep?
Aww.
It always takes me so long to go to sleep. I just want to fall asleep. And I'm like, I know, buddy. It really does. I don't know.
What is long?
Sometimes it's just maybe 10, 20 minutes.
Okay.
Sometimes he can toss and turn for like an hour.
Wow. Now, are you in there with him?
Yeah. And it's not that he's not trying to go to sleep. Sometimes, he can go through his little stalling techniques, but all in all, he's trying to go to sleep. And I said, it's like, I think your mind is just racing and you need to turn off your mind. He's like, I can't. Sometimes he says, I wish I didn't have a brain and then I wouldn't have the thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like, buddy, we all have that. Every single person has these thoughts in their mind, and it just got to figure out when to turn them on and turn them off. And But I think when he finally lays down and his body is still or trying to be still, his mind takes over, into overdrive. So I think that might be why he has a hard time falling asleep, but I don't know.
Now, LJ, we do his bath book. John does his thing, puts him up in the bed, and then it's like tag team. Then I come in and I tell him a story. We do his affirmations, and then we leave. Recently, and I think this is just kids being more and more aware of their surroundings, he'll say, can you leave the door cracked until I fall asleep? Because before it was like we would close the door and he'd be in there and we'd do our thing. And so recently he said, can you leave the door cracked? I personally think it's because he's been fascinated with black holes. And when he watches even the kid videos of it, and he sees everything being sucked in, he's like, can you leave my door cracked? I'm like, well, listen, we don't have to watch it, sir. You keep asking to watch about the black hole. So we leave the door cracked, but we leave him when he's asleep. When he's awake.
That's exactly what you should do. And there's some nights where, for one reason or another, we all agree that he will go to sleep by on his own and we'll wait outside the door. We'll check on him after. But for better or worse, either Brett or I will lay down with him to go to sleep these days. And it won't be forever.
No.
But I think it's good for him right now. He likes that attachment and that security.
Listen, every kid has their whatever we need to provide them to fall asleep, to feel loved, to thrive. It just looks different for everybody.
But once he's asleep, he'll sleep the whole night in his bed. And he has been like waking up at 4 because he has to go pee. And then we got to get him back to sleep after that. Anyway, I was just going to say, I feel like we're both doing well on the sleep situation for us, but mostly for them while they're in school. But what I feel like we're not doing as well at, and I don't know how you feel about this with LJ, is the eating. Everett's not real down with the cafeteria food because it's like some dishes he's never heard of, which is fine. We send him to school with lunch anyway, but they expect them to be independent. So they have to go into their backpack, get whatever they want for snack. They have like 2 recesses throughout the day and it's snack time as well. So they have to go grab whatever they brought from home for snack. And then there's a separate lunchtime. Then they have to grab whatever they want in the afternoon snack. So I don't know what the kid eats. I just know what comes home at the end of the day.
Right.
And sometimes it's nothing. Sometimes it's most of his lunch. And I'm like, what did you eat? I know he drinks milk every day at lunch, which that is good. What else he eats, it's like hit or miss. Every Friday, there's pizza day. So I know he eats pizza on Friday. But making sure he gets protein every day and the vegetables, it's gotten harder for me to make sure that he's eating well now that he's in school, because then he goes to aftercare. And unfortunately, it's not like you guys where it's all in the same area. He actually gets picked up and taken to this community center and they provide him snacks too. And I know he loves the snacks there. But I mean, I know how much this kid can eat. He needs more than just snacks, right? So it's like when we pick him up, we basically feed him dinner as soon as we get home because I know he's starving.
Yep.
And we've had a few instances where I know he's just having like a hangry tantrum. And I'm trying to tell him, your body is telling you you're hungry. Like feed your body, you know?
Yeah.
Like part of growing up is being able to listen to what your body's telling you. Physically, emotionally, all the things. So anyway, I just feel like that's a struggle. I made these little energy balls that we've called cookies that I put in his lunch that he likes. I tried to make smoothies, but he's like, I decide when I want to eat a smoothie. I don't want to eat a smoothie at school. I was like, well, shit.
Can you go back to the energy balls? What's in that?
Because we have nut allergies, I make them with dates, but you can make them with peanut butter and almond butter or whatever. And then you just put a whole bunch of other stuff in there, like oats. I use maple syrup, but you could use agave or whatever you want for like the sweetener. And then you can put in like flaxseed meal. Like you just put in like all the good stuff it's almost like a homemade energy bar or protein bar.
Okay. LJ, I think we're going to probably stick with packing his lunch and maybe doing like a once or twice a week, go to the cafeteria because we think it's good for his learning and to change his palate a little bit. Because if you leave it up to, honestly, to LJ, but to us too, because it's easy, he gets little personal pan pizzas and then a fruit and a vegetable and some fruit snacks. But we think him going to the cafeteria like a big boy and saying what he wants and sitting down and eating that is good for his growth also. Mm-hmm. But to your point, like he gets to the car and he's hungry. And I think it's because he's not eating the snacks that they're giving him. Same thing. The eating has been tough. And then quite honestly, by the time he gets home and we do the commute back, it's like, 6 something. He gets in the bath at 7:30. So it's like whatever's easy to make, which is normally like chicken nuggets or a hot dog or something. So we really adamant about him having a fruit and vegetable with every meal. So that's great. He doesn't fuss with that. But I feel like we ain't really giving him too many options on the food front.
Right.
So we struggle with the eating too.
Yeah. I got to do better. My friend, who is actually one of Brett's high school buddies' wives, and she has a little boy who's Everett's same age. She started her own company making protein powder. It's called Wavelength. It's really cool. So I'm like, I need some of this protein powder because she has one just for kids that has like spinach and
cool
protein and stuff in it. And then she has some for adults. So I just bought some because I was like, I got to sneak it in any way I can. I'm going to put that protein powder in just everything because it's just getting harder I think with the choices, which is good. They have the independence. They're going through the cafeteria or whatever. But if they have an option to say, oh, no, I don't like that. That doesn't look good. Or I'm not. And then they just chit chat the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
So luckily our aide, she's like on lunch duty. So I can chat with her and I'm like, can you just make sure that he's eating something?
Now they will tell us. Like I did same thing. Like we were thinking about letting him eat his lunch in the cafeteria. Can you
Mhm.
let us know if he's eating? Because they do, even though they go and they pick their food, they're still with their group, their pod. So they'll tell us like, a little bit. All that to say, we're trying to find our routine.
I feel like we're entering into the you don't get any information zone with the kids in school
Mm-hmm.
because for the first couple of weeks, I'd be like, how was school, Everett? Like, what'd you guys do today? I don't know. Yeah, it was good. I don't know what we did. I was like, oh, okay. Then on their little school Instagram, there was a cow that came and you see his little blonde head right in the front petting the cow. And I was like, when I asked you what happened at school, you didn't tell me a cow came to school and you guys learned how milk gets to your little carton. He was like, oh yeah, a cow came. I was like, okay, that's the kind of information I would expect. And then he had full on concerts. They bring in these performers. They have full on concerts. It's awesome. He's always in the front row. And I'm like, what happened today? He's like, nothing. Okay. And then I say, oh, you had a concert today? Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh. Same LJ, what did you do today? I had a great day. What did you do? I played and I played and I played. I'm like, that's wonderful. Well, what did you do? Well, we had fun. I'm like, okay, well, that's great. And then the other one is we were taught a lesson today. And I said, that's amazing. What
Oh,
lesson were you taught? I don't know. It was great though. And I'm like, oh my God, I have no idea what you're doing at school. They do have a portal that we just got access to. So hopefully we'll be able to see. But I'm pulling up this thing on my phone because something that you said reminded me of something that I saw on Instagram. It gave prompts on questions to ask or to try instead of how was your day?
mm-hmm.
Who did you play with today? Who did you sit with at lunch? Tell me about a time you felt the happiest today. Who did you help today? What challenged you today? What felt hard? What did you have the most fun learning about today? When did you feel most proud of yourself today, which I really like? And tell me about a high, low, and buffalo from today. I don't know what the buffalo is, but high, low, and buffalo. Maybe it's in between.
Yeah, I've never heard that before.
Me neither.
Hey, y'all, it's your girl PV. We couldn't leave you hanging like that. Did a quick internet search. Buffalo means random. So a high, a low, and a random thing that happened in the day, essentially. Don't know where the random and buffalo connection came from. Hopefully it's not derogatory. But there you have it.
I liked this list though, and we can share this in the comments because I'm like, you know what? Yeah, maybe me just asking how was your day. If it's a closed-ended question, I'm going to get a good or a fine or an outstanding. But it's nice to see some other prompts on how to get more information. Whether or not it works is yet to be seen, but
Yeah, I have seen those and I need to try those too. Because just how was your day? What did you do is not cutting it. Because I get a lot more information now that we have such great communication with this teacher. Everett really enjoyed being the line leader today. He really enjoyed
so cute.
using the green pointer and being the helper. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. I did not hear about any of that. One thing I did hear about was he was dancer of the day and he got a medal.
He's your child.
Yeah. We were talking about the cafeteria and lunch. Does LJ actually like sit in a cafeteria with a bunch of other kids? Is it like that kind of public school style? Or do they just eat in their classroom?
I need to find out. I think my impression was that they go together as their class and they sit in the cafeteria.
Mm-hmm.
Is my impression. But we meet with
Gotcha.
Miss O on Wednesday to get all the details since we missed damn curriculum night. So I need to find out.
Gotcha. Yeah, that was the one thing that we did get information out of Everett about. The first couple weeks were really hard at lunchtime because he said, we sit in the cafeteria and it's so loud. And I was like, well, could you eat outside? No, they won't let us eat outside. I was like, okay. Well, do you want to bring your headphones? Because, he has these little noise canceling headphones that he wears in the movie theater or wherever. And he was like, I don't think they'll let us bring stuff like that from home. So I couldn't tell if he was saying that because he would have been embarrassed being like the only kid with the headphones on, or if he really thought he was breaking the rules, which I have to doubt that was it. Because did I tell you about the erasers and the blue crayons?
No.
Oh my gosh. Okay. The first 4 days of school, every day he'd say, I have to show you something. Like when we get to the car, I'm like, okay, buddy. Yeah, I want to see it. And he'd pull out one blue crayon and one eraser.
What?
And I'm like, oh, that's cool, buddy. Like, are you allowed to take these home? And he's like, well, I don't think they know that I took them. And I'm like, okay. And I said, well, why did you take them? It's just my thing. It's just my thing. I just take the things. I'm like, okay, I don't want to take your thing. You know, if this is like floating your boat right now, I don't want to take your thing away. Right. So every day, one crayon, one eraser.
This dude is lifting crayons and get Everett, sir.
Yes. So it went from cute to being like, oh shit, he's straight up stealing. So I found a cute way. We were bouncing on the trampoline. We were taking a break. We were laying down. And I was like, you know what, buddy? I read the parent handbook and it had all of your rules of school. And I learned a couple of things. And he was like, I already know all the rules, mommy. I already know the rules. I'm like, oh, that's great, buddy. Because I didn't know all the rules, you know, and I started something about his uniform. It's free dress day on the last Friday of every month. And he's like, oh, I didn't know that. That's fun. I'm like, yeah, so you'll get to wear whatever you want on the last Friday. I'm like, another thing I read was that stealing is not allowed and you could get kicked out of school. And it reminded me of the erasers and the crayons you've been bringing home.
Uh-huh.
And he's like, yeah, the other day, one of the teachers saw me taking it and made me put it back. And I'm like, oh, that's good. And he's like, I just took it again later. And I was like, okay.
Lord have mercy.
And I was like, okay, buddy, I know you're just doing that because you think it's like your thing and it's fun, but I don't think they would see it that way. They would see it as stealing. So we can't do that anymore. And he's like, oh. And I'm like, yeah. So we got two options here. We can bring everything back and just say, sorry, I didn't know what I was doing. Now I know. He's like, no.
Oh.
I said, or we can just let this lie, bygones be bygones, and just don't do it again. And he's like, yeah, okay, I just won't do it again.
Girl, are you going to give them back their crayons and their erasers?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's like 4 crayons and 4 erasers. I'm not worried about like the materials. It was more the lesson, you know?
I know.
It was so innocent, but there was just like a twinge of like, I kind of know I'm doing something I'm not supposed to because it's like this fun little thing that I have.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we had to nip that in the bud.
That was a good combo, the way you approach it, though.
I didn't want me to be like, you're in trouble. You shouldn't do this. This is stealing, you know?
Yeah.
Even though I was like, shit, here we go.
And the way that you were describing it, like, Mom, meet me at the trunk. Meet me at the trunk. I'm going to show you this real quick.
I know. I'm like, now I'm an accomplice.
You are 2 for $5. I have some to you for 2 for $5. How many lollipops would you give me for 2 blue crayons and an eraser? Kids are funny, man.
Yeah.
You just don't know what they're going to do. So
exactly.
Well, I do know this. We get progress reports the first week of October. And because we missed curriculum night, we did get a copy of the slides, which are great because it gives all of these like suggestions on things to do and where they should be. And so I'm excited to see his progress report. He did tell me one day that he was being too loud and the teachers told him he was talking too much. I'm like, well, you know who your mama is. So I got that a lot. So I'm curious to see what his progress report looks like and how it progresses through the year. But the first almost semester now, he's doing pretty well.
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
And I have been so focused, I should say Brett and I have been so focused on just getting him in the groove and making sure everything's cool that we haven't really focused on meeting the other parents and like getting involved in anything. And our school, as you might guess, being a Hispanic school, they're like all about the culture and like
it's community.
Yeah, it's awesome, which is part of the reason we love being there. But we haven't felt like we've engaged yet. And so Dia de los Muertos is coming up. So they have a big fundraiser. We didn't get added to any of the lists, like the communication stuff at all, because we were so late in enrolling.
Mm.
And so, you know, a few weeks in, we're just like walking around like dodos, like, how come we haven't met anybody? And then finally, Everett and one of his little friends after school were chatting. And she's like, are you on the WhatsApp chat? I'm like, no, I don't even know what you're talking about. She's like, oh, let me add you. So I just feel like we're slow in that part of it. I'm sure it'll ramp up quickly. And I'm wondering, is it all going to be in Spanish? Am I going to be like the one? I don't know. Maybe that means Brett will have to do all of that stuff.
Well, it means that Brett may have to do all that stuff and that you get to practice Spanish.
Yes, I do want to do that too.
So we'll have to do this same conversation like another couple months down the road and see how they're progressing, man.
Yeah, I want to make a prediction on Everett, so this will be fun. You should make a prediction for LJ too. He's always loved being read to, like most kids, but he's just so into being read to. And he, over the summer, got into Captain Underpants. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
I have.
Okay, so it's above his age anyway, but he loves it. And then he loves all the series that build off of that, like Dogman, Cat Kid. He's just so into it. These books are chapter books. They're like 24 chapters long. It takes me over an hour to read one in like a sitting. And he's obsessed with them. He will wake me up with the book on my chest. Like, okay, read to me now. I'm like, the sun is not up. My eyes are not open. And he's like, read me this whole book. It will take you 1 hour. I'm like, fuck.
Really?
Yeah, no, he's obsessed. So it reminds me of how LJ is obsessed with the planets.
Uh-huh.
My prediction is as soon as this little joker can read, we will not see him because he already memorizes the books and he will sit in his room. Like if I am just like, I cannot read anymore, or I have to take a shower or whatever it is. And I'm just like, you got to read yourself. He will sit in there and read aloud to himself for like 30 minutes from memory. And I'm like, holy shit. So as soon as he starts actually reading,
forget about it.
I don't think we're going to see this kid. He's going to be in his own little worlds.
Absolutely. Do you know what the school's expectations are around, or like what their goals are for them in terms of their reading abilities when they finish the year?
At this school, I don't, and I should. You learn Spanish different than English. So they're learning the vowels and then they learn syllables, so it's different. I think at the end of kindergarten in English school, they're supposed to be able to read like cat, dog, the small words. I don't know what it is at this immersion program. I should ask. I do know that no matter what, he will be behind in English. Like in 6th grade, that's just kind of a known thing that him integrating into 7th grade, obviously he'll be ahead in Spanish and he'll be at, hopefully like on par with math and all that stuff, but they learn it all in Spanish. But the English part, I think he'll be behind in. So maybe we get him a tutor, or maybe he just catches up in 7th grade.
Yeah.
But I don't know. We've read to him so much and he's already trying to read. Like he's trying to spell out words and he's really doing his pronunciation. So we're trying to do a lot of that at home alongside in English that he's getting in at school in Spanish. So I don't know. I hope he'll be able to read a little bit by 1st grade.
No, I was just curious because I was thinking about what's in Miss O's cute little presentation, because it had the goals in there of like what their expectations are for their reading. And it just reminded me of what you were saying. Like LJ's not reading, but we're working on his sight words. And another family friend of ours who's in education and we should talk to Lee about this too, like a part 2 with Lee. She's like, make your house word rich. Even though they know table and they know chair and, they clearly have full conversations, but to put the words on everything. So they start associating it. So like, we know this is a chair, but chair is CHAIR since they know the letters. Granted, I know it'll be different in
Something
Spanish.
To get Maxine Biel oh my gosh.
Listen,
she
you
will
already
have
know
everything in your house labeled.
Everything. But you're right. It's like the labeling is right up her alley. Yeah. But our friend Kelly was like, to make the house word rich. So we're going to ask Miss O about it because
that's cool.
That'll help him start reading. Like he'll start associating things.
Yeah. Maybe we should do that and have the Spanish and English word.
Yeah. Her daughter Olivia is 18 now or 17. She's a senior. But she's like, she was reading really early because she made everything in the house. She goes, your house is going to be a mess. I'm like, well, it's already got stuff everywhere. It's fine. But to put the labels on so they start associating the words and the letters with the object. I'm like, huh. So we'll see. Can I tell you one milestone that has been really cute to watch with LJ? First of all, that John and I are both left-handed. LJ favors his right. So when we're doing stuff with him, I have to remind myself, like when I'm helping him hold his pencil the right way or his chalk, it's like, figure out how to do it with your right hand, like to help guide him. But the last couple of days he's come home, he's really excited to write his name.
Aww.
And not LJ, but John, because they call him John there. So it's been really cute. Watch. I mean, you have to look. You will squint with one eye open and you see what he's writing. But
Yeah.
it's been really cute to see him come into his confidence with that. So my prediction, I'm going to predict that LJ will be reading short words
Before he enters kindergarten.
Yes, that's my prediction.
That's awesome.
I don't know. We're going to see. But you know what? Outside of just the educational piece, what we want for LJ is that he feels a sense of community. He feels connection, that he's enjoying it. Like Lee was saying on the episode, that he's excited to learn. So to me, that's more important than him being able to read the short words. I predict that he'll be able to do it, and hopefully we can get him to do that. But that's not a huge deal. The bigger deal is that he feels safe and comfortable there and happy, and that he's excited to learn. That's the bigger piece.
Sounds like he's on his way or there already.
Sounds like Everett is too.
Yeah. And those were actually the expectations that were presented to us in back to school night. They did share what they have been working on, the syllables and that kind of vowels and stuff, and like how they structure the day. But what the expectations are all around social emotional learning. And they do, it's called a tribe approach. They don't have rules, they have agreements. And so they together as a class come up with agreements. They all have to sign the agreement. The first one they did was how to listen. You listen with your eyes, your ears, and your heart. So like you're making eye contact, you're listening, and you're have an open heart. Yeah, it's so cute. And then they feel like they all kind of developed the agreement together and then they sign the agreement. But anyway, they build on these agreements as the school year goes on. So they have like a series of agreements that they have by the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
One last thing I wanted to check in on is now that our boys are in school and they're rocking it and they've got their routines and we're managing schedules and whatnot, how are you and I doing on our own schedules and routines? Like your therapist that you're supposed to be meeting with regularly that you fell off the wagon and we're trying to get you back on the wagon. Where are you?
Girl, the wagon's in the garage. I have not gone back, and it's on me because I haven't set up a regular routine with her. Mm-hmm. And she even sent me a text like, hello. And we all know I'm terrible texting. Like it'll take me weeks to get back. So I have not followed up with her. So I have not been doing my self-care in terms of talking to my therapist and just, I shared with Peavy that in my mind, I thought I only needed to talk to my therapist when something was about to go left. And I was like, okay, let me talk to her. And I've realized through our conversation and conversation with other people that it's like maintenance, like just going every couple weeks because you never know you can't anticipate when you're going to have something deep to talk about. And I love my therapist. She's dynamic. But no, I have not gotten back on like my cadence with her. So I need to do that. I think right now, just in general, with my therapist, with everything, now that LJ is back in a routine, I can focus on getting myself organized again. Because this is what I've done, if I'm just being open and transparent. Once all of my surgeries were done and I was like, okay, I'm ready to rock, I just jumped back into like doing this client thing and doing this and doing this. And I did not take the time to strategize. Like, okay, Jamie, make sure that you're carving out time for you. If that means going to the gym, if that means going to see Terry, if that means having your coffee outside and journaling. I haven't prioritized any of that stuff that feels good and that is beneficial. I just kind of jumped right back into work mode. I've joined all these committees. I've been asked to join a couple new boards, which I'll share next time. And so I've been like, yes, I can do that. And yes, I'll do that. And And then I'm like, oh, wait a minute, what day was that meeting? I don't know. So I need to take a step back and like get some calendar management, get some self-control. I'm a workaholic, as you know, and as an entrepreneur, I think it's been more so that. And I feel like I've missed out for the last 10 months because I wasn't really doing much. So as soon as I said, okay, my surgeries are done, I'm ready to go, I just jumped back into like business development. Long-winded way of saying I have not done the best with getting myself reorganized and recalibrated. But now that LJ has a routine in the last, 6 weeks and we feel really good about it, now I can reprioritize myself because I know it'll feel good.
Yes. And that sounds totally reasonable why you would kind of have that backlash because you're like, oh, I'm missing out and I'm so focused usually. And I felt like I had to take a back seat. So I'm glad to hear you say that. You recognize that you're ready to refocus, because what you could do is listen to our self-care episode again, because it's a good one, right before, maybe when you're traveling to the retreat, because we have our Calm Mama retreat coming up in a couple weeks. So you could listen to the self-care episode as prep, get your mind in that mode, all in during our retreat, and just kind of use that as your benchmark. Like, okay, that's going to be my reset button. That's going to be when I'm going to implement these things that I know I need to do.
Yes, I love listening to our episode again. Nice shameless plug there, Peeve, on putting that episode back out there in general. But also the time on the plane to do all that stuff, because I'm so hype about our retreat. Mostly, like I said, to sleep.
Somebody rub on me, get a massage.
Get my massage. And, I live for a vision board, which I have not done recently. So, yes, I love that idea of kind of getting myself ready. So the retreat is my benchmark. I can feel the shift. So I'm ready to go. And you didn't get to say about if you were taking care of yourself.
I think that I have kept my schedule with my therapy. I do my women's support group every week, and I have my individual therapy every other week. So I've been pretty committed to that. And same thing with my workout routine. I'm like, basketball Tuesdays, go to the gym 2 or 3 times a week. So I've been committed to that. But I think that in my career, I need to be more mindful and strategic. It might be time to make some moves and use our stability now that we have Everett in school and Brett established in his new career for me to take a good look at what I'm doing and see how I want to advance and what's going to re-inspire me and keep me motivated and keep me moving forward and up in my career. So I've been a little stagnant, which hasn't been a bad thing, but a little bit on a plateau. So that's what I need to do. I'm sure the vision boarding will help.
I love a good vision board.
I haven't had time. And actually, I have recently been in a job interview. And one of the questions that should have been expected on my part was, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And I was like, where do I see myself in 5 years? I've been so living in the now and what's right immediately next for us. I haven't really been looking that far ahead. So that is what I need to do a better job of.
We'll hold each other accountable.
Okay.
All right. Well, we are going to wrap this up. I think it was a great recap of how the boys are doing, and not only how the boys are doing in their new environments, but how we as moms and our partners, spouses are doing with their adjustments as well. So we'll have to do this again in a couple months and see what progress we've continued to make.
Yeah, it was fun to have Leon and intentionally talk about how to prepare for something and then have a chance to reflect on how well did we prepare, what worked, what didn't, what came up that we hadn't expected. So yeah, it was fun to do that. Thank you everyone for listening and being here. I know we took a little bit of a much needed break to get our boys into school, to get adjusted to a new schedule, to take a post-surgeries vacation and get back into work. I know we've both been traveling for work too. So anyway, we're both happy to be back recording. And like I said, we've got lots of really great episodes coming up. Jamie's going to be putting something special together for Breast Cancer Awareness Month, which is in October. So I know you all have been following her journey, and that'll be a really special one to listen to.
Yeah, we have some good stuff coming up. So keep tuning in. Thank you all for being being our community and following us on this journey of ours. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you. And see you on Instagram, _is_a_mother_podcast. On our YouTube channel, same handle. You can reach us on Gmail, isaMotherPodcast@gmail.com. We love to hear from you. So please keep the comments and the suggestions and anything you want to share coming.
Good, bad, and ugly. We want to hear it all.
All right. Love you.
Love you too.
Go call your best friends, people.
That's right.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening and being part of our conversation and our inner circle.
Follow us on Instagram, _is_a_mother_podcast. And we look forward to you and your best friends joining us next episode.
Leave a rating on this podcast app. It really helps us get our conversations to more friends out there, more friendship circles, and more women and more mothers. And that's what we're here for, to broaden the conversation, to bring everybody into the circle.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for joining us. We'll talk to you soon.
Go call your best friend.